Hello everyone and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be looking at my round 1 game from the Chicago Open that happened over the Memorial Weekend. I was incredibly happy with my overall results. The final game was a little bit hard for me because actually we'll talk about that later. At least around when round 7 comes. But my first opponent is Sanford. He goes by Vigmandu online, so you've probably seen him around KGS or OGS, and he registered as a 5 Dan, but I believe his AGA rank is 4 Dan. And this was actually a pretty interesting game. So let's go ahead and take a look at it and review it. Yeah. So I'm playing white and he's playing black. Now, something about my online play versus my in-person play. I am a much better player in person than I am online. When I play online, I tend to play very aggressive. I tend to play very, I would say a little crazy. Lots and lots of death. But in person, I tend to be very, I won't say passive, but very solid. I don't really like going for big kills. I would say in person, I tend to play a little bit more, like I said, solid, but more so trying to not make any big mistakes. To win online, I get a little crazy to make the games a little bit more entertaining. When I stream and such. And Mani, on the other hand, you get that feeling when you play somebody that you think is stronger than you, that you need to make the game really crazy. and honestly, that's something that I can understand a lot, because when I was ranking up back on KGS back in 2007 and 2008, something that I constantly told myself is, oh, I'm I'm 6 Dan in rank online, but and I'm playing these other KGS 6 Dans. Well, how am I supposed to win these games? Oh well, if I just make the game really crazy and they don't understand how to play the game, maybe that's my chance to win. So there was this level of self-doubt in my own ability to play the game. And so sometimes back in the day when I would play, I would play a lot of crazy moves to make the game really complicated, because I was afraid that I couldn't compare to the other players that were 6 Dan on KGS back in the day, or 7 Dan on KGS and stuff. But something that I have learned over my time teaching other players, but also improving myself and improving in the Baduk house. And I do apologize if I'm like coughing a lot or or whatnot. I'm actually just getting over a cold, so I apologize. But something that I've learned is that you should just try to play the move that you think is best all the time. I know that sounds pretty obvious, but I do think that a lot of people do try to, make the game complicated, or they feel forced to make the game complicated. And I've learned that if you just play the move that fixes your weaknesses and you try to play really as solid as possible, it's more likely that your opponent is going to lose those games than they are going to lose the games where you try to go crazy or you try to get them to slip up and stuff like that. And Mani felt that he needed to make this game really crazy in order for him to win, rather than playing the moves that he thought were best. So there's going to be a few times in this game where I'll say something is bad that he knew was bad, and he intentionally played it because he wanted to make the game more complicated. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we see them. And one does actually come up pretty quickly here. So this is a Joseki. This is a normal Joseki. It's actually one of my most disliked Josekis as black, because we're very low on the board here. So you can see that black is very low. Black's not really gaining a lot of points. And white kind of gets this really big wall. And it can be sometimes in Sente. So here, for example, white could choose to play away. White could choose to push here. Now, like I said, I like fixing my weaknesses. I like keeping really thick groups. So I'm the type of player that will generally just extend. I don't really like the idea of leaving this cutting point or this Atari, but you can play away, and that is perfectly acceptable. And sometimes I might play away as well. But for the most part, Money chose to play away. And I thought he just didn't know at the time that he needed to turn here, but we talked after the game, and he told me the reason he didn't turn is because he thought I would fix like this. And he said if I fixed like this, he said that he wasn't comfortable with the cut here, even though it's my cut, but he wanted to be able to use this cut against me, because he felt that he needed to be able to have something to attack later. And so he chooses to just play this really simple move. Now, this may not look like a big mistake, but it's actually a really, really big mistake. It's like -2 points, which may not sound that big, but it really is bad early game. Something that I think can be overlooked sometimes when players are like, oh, this position is just really comfortable for me. Maybe, some people will just be like, oh, it's just really comfortable for me to be able to capture the stone instead of turning here and allowing white to push here. And I think that's okay, but I think there is an overdone level of I need to be comfortable in order to play a certain type of game or whatever. I think that gets overused as an excuse to play what I would define as incorrect, because you might be comfortable in the moment, but as the game goes on, your shapes start to fall apart, making them really uncomfortable. And you'll actually see that this game, because he gets very focused on this cut. Now, I will admit that what he wanted and what was comfortable for him is completely different in definition. Technically, he was just looking to fight. But this is a very big mistake to allow white to drop here. So you'll see that I just take a really basic enclosure. I'm just saying, hey, I played Joseki, and here's the thing. I know that I'm ahead now. I don't know exactly how much I'm ahead, but I do know I'm ahead. Now, I know it's 2 points because I reviewed my game with AI. But I did know that I was guaranteed to be ahead. This is a trick you guys can use to count your games really early. So if we know Joseki, if black turns here and white responds, we know that the game is even. If white plays away, we know that the game is even. The biggest mistake that has happened on this board is probably worth 0.1 or 0.2. If that, probably 0.1. Like I said, it's possible that playing away here could be wrong. It's possible that playing here could be wrong, but these are very tiny mistakes, and we don't want to overvalue these mistakes. However, I know that black playing away here, it's not super, it's not super big. Nothing's dying on this board, so I don't want to go straight to like, oh, this is a 5-point mistake. But I do want to recognize that black has played an enclosure, and an enclosure has the value of an average move. It's not very big, but it's not very small either. And so that leaves me this really important Atari over here. And when I get this Atari, he has to respond. And when I've gotten that response there, I now know that I have at least a 0.5 to a 1.5 lead at the very least. So I knew I was in a good spot here. And I know a lot of people might feel like I'm being a little too slow here, that I need to approach, but it's perfectly fine to play an enclosure on your own corner. I'm defending this cutting point. I'm adding strength to it. I'm saying, hey, if you go and play here now, it's very easy for me to just go ahead, and we don't want to play Atari. We don't Atari stones that we don't really intend to capture. And so I just take a base here. And if I play away, then he gets to approach, and I have to figure out how I'm going to do this. And if he gets too strong in this direction, it it adds to this cutting point. So this is just another move that goes with my nature as a player of just, hey, I want to be really solid. I want to be able to fix my cutting points or just be really thick about them, And so I play on this side, and it's perfectly fine. And this is an even game, except white is slightly ahead, which a lot of people might look at it and see it as, oh, no, you're not actually getting that many points. But all the points that black really has is so far here, and it's very small. And then we have 10, 15 points, and then we have 10, 15 points. So not that many, and then white has 10, 15 points, and then we're expected to get quite a bit of influence off this wall. Now black takes this top move, which I think is an okay move. It's not my preference. I might actually play the attachment now, right this moment. But it is an okay move, something that I try not to do myself. Is that if I have a corner that I picture as strong that my opponent can't really take away from me, I try not to extend off of that corner. Because something that can happen if black takes that extension is that white has really good ways to be able to reduce this corner. So we have all kinds of ways to be able to reduce this corner in very well studied and known ways. And when I add this extra move, it really entices white to be able to just play anything here. So I'm not really a big fan of this move for black, but he did mention that he is looking, again, to reinforce the idea that he's going to cut here. But the thing is that white is very strong here. This is a very big wall. Even if it gets cut and you feel like you're getting to attack something, it doesn't really mean much if the wall is so big that you have to spend so many moves to capture it. There was even a point where I told Monty after the game that if I had to sacrifice this, it's really not that big. Even though it was fairly sized, but for what I was getting in as a possible trade, was big enough that it didn't really matter to me that it was being cut off. And cutting too early can be very difficult. So I go ahead and I play an approach here in the lower left. He jumps. We go ahead and play just a normal Joseki. And then he goes back to attach here. Now, I didn't really know how I wanted to respond to this move. But generally, if you don't know how to respond, just play some Joseki. Just play some Joseki. Keep the responses simple. Don't try to trick your opponent. Don't try to go to anything crazy. So the expected response that I thought was going to happen, and I chose this one. I'm not very fond of this Joseki. I could tell you right now, in my opinion, this is actually the hardest Joseki ever. I forget it all the time. I really dislike going into it. I forget it. I'm sure I would have remembered during the game if I put a little bit of effort into trying to think about this variation, but I always forget it when I am practicing. So I hone on this side. I say, I know Joseki. I know this one. And I just made these exchanges here. So it makes a lot of sense to take a Joseki that might, build some strength in this direction, but also fixes the cutting point on this way. But remember, in his mind, he really wants that cutting point. So you'll see something that he does here that I think is really bad, and why I try to encourage not only you guys as viewers, but my students as well, all the time, that if you think a move is good, you should play it, and if the move is bad, you just shouldn't play it. Even if you feel like you might be a little bit more comfortable playing a certain way. And in this case, black makes this connection. And I actually thought maybe he just didn't know the Joseki. But I did confirm with him after the game that he did know this move was bad. It was just because he didn't want to give up this cutting point here. So if we play out the normal Joseki, normally black will push here, and then white will Atari, black will turn, push, and then white will take. And the thing about this variation is that he felt if he played this, he would no longer be able to cut here. Now, admittedly, I think that this is true. He would no longer be able to cut here. However, on the flip side, think about how long it has taken him to set up this cut to begin with. The problem is that we're spending a lot of time to try to set this up for something that we don't really know if it's going to work or not. We don't really know if, like, imagine, for example, right now white fixes this. It is true that this would be a very bad move for white because this is a very big move for black. But if our whole idea was to play here, to allow this push here, and instead of pressing, and then to take this this other Joseki, in the other form, all to get this cut, and then suddenly white fixes, our entire plan went down the drain, and we made all of these other exchanges to make that happen. We really don't want to bet the entire game on something like that. Now, he of course did not choose that Joseki. He chose to play this way, and I just chose to simply take my corner. It's a really nice corner, and I'm still not really worried about the cut, because if he cuts right away, I'm going to take a base, and then if he tries to pull out here, this is more than enough for me to win the game. This would be almost over, basically. And he has no perfect move to surround this. So even if he plays here, I still have so much room to be able to run and live. And there's just nothing he can do for this group. It is dead. And he realized that and says, okay, I can't actually use that cutting point yet. And so I Hane. Now I don't want to poke at this point yet, because now this would give him the tiger's mouth. This would be too easy for black. So I have to play here first, and then if he tries to tiger, it's a lot more difficult for him to get these kinds of exchanges. So that makes it so he has to push. Now I go back and I poke at that really important point. Now no matter what he plays here, he doesn't get a tiger's mouth, and instead he gets an empty triangle. And I think I mentioned in my last video, but we'll talk about something that I call shape tax in another video. I'm still working on that one, and we're going to talk a lot about shape tax, which is basically just the idea of playing a bad shape in the place of a good shape because it works in the moment versus an investment for later. Now, in this case, black doesn't have much of a choice, unfortunately. But there are a lot of times where we do play these empty triangles when we shouldn't. Now, I Atari, I say, okay, it's time to, if black pushes out here, it's time to make sure that I can go back and live. Now, something that I actually didn't realize when I was pushing here on the bottom of this board is that I actually thought that if black pushes out here and I block, that he can't push here. I didn't realize that when I played this move, or when I thought about this originally, or when I played this Atari instead of like playing this Atari. I thought that he had to do it this way, in which case I would get a squeeze more like this. But I do realize before making the exchanges. Now, what's really interesting is this is actually still the blue move, even later on when it's a little bit harder. So originally, when I thought this could just, seal him in a really good way, I was like, okay, sure, I can push here. And you'll notice that I don't just take this stone, I push. Something you will realize about watching strong players is we really don't like making bad shapes. if we have to suffer through a bad shape, we'll just throw away the entire ecosystem. Like, throw it all away. Just throw away the entire universe. Like, if I have to, like, I would rather push here and just sacrifice the entire right side. Now, obviously, I don't actually want to do that. I might have to do a little bit of counting and be like, okay, how much of the right side can I throw away? Or do I got to go insane and do something here, right? Now, luckily, when I did play here, it's still good for me to play this way. So I did not really realize that I, quote unquote, could not push here. Even though it's still fine, I just didn't realize I couldn't in my own reading at the time. And so I push and I push and I push. He could have pushed one more time and I would have responded. And this is where it would have gotten a little difficult, because now when he pushes and I go here, it's a little bit harder for me while I'm sealed in. And my general rule of thumb is I don't allow my opponent to Hane at the head of 2, and I don't allow them to Hane at the head of 3. Now, I did consider catching at this point, because if they Hane'd, I'm pretty strong on the other side. And so I felt okay fighting this. So I'm pretty sure I would have realized in the moment, and I might not have pushed. But that is something that was my thought process at the time. But he pulls out slightly too early. And this is actually when I realized that I can't do this. Now, I did look at this with AI afterwards, and it says that I should still play this way. And this is perfectly fine for me. But I was very worried about it during the game, and so instead I chose to push this way. And I go here. Now, I did not realize I should Hane right now. I knew it the moment he pushed out. I went, oh, I should have Hane'd right there. Should have done it. Did not realize I should have done it. And then I should just go back to like this, and it's okay. But technically this is also okay, just wasn't... just didn't realize I could Hane one turn earlier. And then he realizes, oh, I can't hold this. I'm going to die if I, allow this. There's just no way for black to escape here. So he now has to pull out with this stone. And that allows me to Hane in this position. And he has to jump out. If he tries to fight it like this, he doesn't have the liberties to race this, no matter what he does here. So he's got to jump out. Now I'm going to Hane. Again, if he tries to cut here, it's very difficult for him to out-liberty white. Impossible, even. So I know that he's going to have to turn. And what do we see here? An empty triangle. This is going to be a huge thing throughout the whole game. You will see me abusing and taking advantage of these bad shapes for black. The entire time I'm saying, oh, you made a bad shape earlier. I'm going to take advantage of that. Oh, you made another bad shape. I'm going to remember that for later. And so I knew that he needed to make the empty triangle if he wanted to escape here, which allows me to... All right, well, first he tried to go back and live inside. I said no, and I went under. I think he thought that if he plays like this, I'm cut off and there's nothing I can do. But there is, in fact, something that I can do. So I can play this move here, which is what I played in the game. He did not see this coming. He did not know this move existed. Very good way to seal black in. So if he tries to push out like this, I get to actually cut in here. And he does take the Panuki, and I still think this is what he should have done. I think this is actually better than the game, because he can now take Sente. And I think that's what I think is most important right now. Because we can see if he tries to push through here, he's just not going to be able to live with these stones. It's just not going to happen. But he does get a really nice Panuki here. You know, it's a really nice Panuki. Plus, if he Hane's here, right? If he Hane's here, and then we try to Hane back. Well, now he has that cut. I can't go back and cut. So he has an actual cut here that he can utilize to play. And then I've got to go and I got to, block. And then he can extend. And that's a couple extra points potentially on the top side of the board for him, right? I've got to, I don't think I can actually save these stones. It's very difficult. I don't really see a way to save them, honestly. It just looks like I'm going to get sealed in. Now, I wouldn't play that instantly as black because we have a weakness on this board. It is extremely important, and this is something that I tell my students every single day because it is so important. We don't randomly attack things when we have weaknesses on the board. So sure, he could go and he could do all of this right now, and we could make all of these fights, but I can figure this out later. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fight you and seal you in over here, and you're gonna have problems here. Always fix your weaknesses first. Something that I'm told a lot by my students when they come to me is, yeah, but I was afraid that if I didn't attack it now, they would fix it, and then I wouldn't be able to attack it later. I'm sorry, but you may not be able to attack it, or, you might not be able to finish the kill later if you don't have time. Like, if you give white all these exchanges, and then white goes and attacks here, do you realistically care that you captured 3 stones if this entire dragon dies? You have to be able to choose what's important, what you're able to fight right this moment. And to me, he didn't have time to really capture these, but that's not what happened in the game. Instead, he Haned. But we do need to make sure that we are choosing our fights and choosing what should come first and what direction they should come. It's very important, and I guarantee you that a lot of losses happen because you don't fix weaknesses first. You choose to fight first. It's very common in almost every Fox 1-dan to 3-dan player. It is like one of the biggest things that I tell my 1-dan students, my 2-dan students, my 3-dans. I mean, like I tell my other students too because it's really important in my classes, but it is a really big thing that we talk about and we focus on, is making sure that we're fixing these weak groups first. Now, I choose to connect here. I thought I was completely fine. I didn't realize that I had some weaknesses that were not being taken care of. So I should actually connect here because it's pretty much impossible for white to connect this and live, basically. There is nothing black can do to be able to hold this cut. And if they play here, it's still just dead. They don't have the liberties to be able to play this. So instead, when I play this, I leave a small weakness behind that I didn't think about. Black plays this instead of this. We don't want to play this first because it's just the same result, except now you've given white this extra extension. As where if you play here, white has to take a liberty, very important. Black takes another liberty on the 4 stones. And if black connects, black can't win this liberty race. It's just dead. So black actually has to go back to take these 3 stones now. White plays here. Now, what I think should be done here is black should go back to this. I think I don't care as white to capture these now. I'm probably going to go back and fix. And if black plays here, I'll be quite honest, I'm still going to go back to fix the bottom of the board. I don't think I'm going to care about these stones. They're really not that many points. They are very painful to give up, but not comparatively to if I lose the bottom of the board. But he chooses to capture. So you'll see that I said again, I know that you've got bad shape. You're going to have to either Atari and Atari out, and you're going to play here, and I'm going to get all of these very beautiful follow-up moves. Or you will have to turn, in which case, once again, I'm going to get a lot of follow-up moves here. It's very hard for white to be able to, or black to be able to hold this escape, which is why it's really important that black escapes before trying to capture these stones. And you can kind of see how this game has really fumbled from that one cutting point, that whole idea that black just wanted this one cutting point to try to make the game more difficult for me. And I have just said, hey, I'm going to be as solid as possible, and I know that you are more likely to fall apart when you try to attack the strength that I have. Now he turns because he doesn't want to give me that extra Atari and the turn. But it doesn't really matter. He still has to pick a shape to get out of here, and his choice is here. Now I recognize that it's very hard for me to hold this, so I jump. And here, I expected him to invade. I don't think I played this the best way. But my general goal was to still play this move. Now that I've got this extra helping stone here at G9, I know exactly what I want and I know what I'm going for. But first, I have to make sure that I fix my weaknesses. You'll see that I did not go, oh my gosh, what if he goes back and he fixes this? I can't attack it anymore. Or he attaches here and I go, oh no, I need to do this right now. If I don't do this right now, he's gonna live there. I said, no, I need to wait, because I said if I play here now, if I play this move and we go out, I have some problems here. I have an issue, because if he plays here into here and here into here, and he makes this exchange, and I got to go back and fix, or I got to go back and fix like this and leave a cutting points, all these cutting points behind, there's a chance that he does even more damage down here. And I did not want to give him that chance. So I said, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make sure that my weaknesses are fixed first. Then I make this exchange and I say, how are you going to respond? I want to see how he responds. He pushes out, and then I say, okay, now I'm going to go finish bolstering my strength out here, because I know that this move he's 100% going to respond to. He doesn't have time to go back here, right? So I know he's going to respond to this one. I wanted to see how he would fix. Then I go back to the bottom of the board and I say, okay, I'm going to push here. He takes a base, because if he pushes here, it's very easy to just die on the bottom. So he's taking the base and saying, okay, if you play here, I can likely live. However, now I say I'm a little bit stronger in the direction of this stone, and I'm a little bit more comfortable now to surround. So I play all these Hanes, and you'll see I actually make a mini mistake here soon. So he goes here, and I have to play this. So I haven't made the mistake yet. I'll tell you when I get there. But I play this move. I don't know if he knew he could live. So technically, he does need this move first. He can't actually go back and live here. But there is a living move. And if I play this and I go back and fix, he actually can make life. If he plays here, into this move. Now, I saw this during the game, because at one point here, I was really tempted to play this, and I thought he was going to die, but I spent quite a bit of time on this move, and I said, I found your life sequence, which is this one. So if white goes back and fixes, then black is just alive, right? And there's not really, or better said, it's this one. I think the other one actually doesn't live. I think here kills this. So it's actually going to be this one. So now if black tries to go, or white tries to go and take that eye away, this is just a working eye. And if white turns here, black cannot remove that other eye here. It's just, white cannot remove that other eye there. It's just not possible. So I noticed that and I played here. But I make a mistake here. I play this very solid connection when instead I should be playing here. This tiger's mouth, very nice, strong, thick shape. That would have helped me in so many ways here to make the game slightly easier to hold this kill. But because I play this connection, it runs into some ladder problems. So if I played here and he tries to push, I can actually just continue to push. And even if he does this, he just gets laddered, and if he throws in, he's in Atari, and if he pushes, he's going to get cut off. I don't do that, unfortunately, and instead I make this connection. So now you can see that I can't push through anymore, and so now I need to find 8 liberties on this left side. Now, lucky for me, it's very hard to dwindle this down to less than 8 liberties. So I obviously fight back, and this is, in my opinion, a very big mistake for my opponent. It's bad shape, right? It's an empty triangle. And so he needs a different shape. But to be fair, he said, you know, if I play what might be perceived as the best move in the area, I definitely cannot get the liberties here. As I cannot reduce black here or white here in enough liberties. So black chooses to play a bad shape. And I think this is fair. I think in this case, it's a little hopeless, and you're kind of at the end of the game, and you're like, well, this is my last hurrah. I might as well play as severe as possible. But he pulls back here, which allows me to come back, and I have enough liberties here. Now, no matter what he does, the game is over. He needed to play the Hane, and I was actually really afraid of this move happening. But I can go back here, and I hadn't quite read this out yet, but I did look at it with AI. If I go here and he fixes, we again go back to cut, and if he goes back here, it's a lot easier for white to now just make those 8 eyes, or 8 liberties, and to be able to capture this, or to make 2 eyes over here. I'd say it's not super clear or super easy, but it is something that that I was reading, and AI did confirm that this is exactly what I should be doing. But yeah, so the game ended in resignation, where I won, and we kind of talked about the game afterwards. And that was when he told me that he felt that he needed to play very aggressively in order to win the game. And that led to him making a lot of really bad shapes. So kind of what I want to leave you guys with, taking away from this video, is you should play the move that you think is best. I'm not going to tell you that you can't play tricky moves and that you can't play moves that you try to trick your opponent, but I am going to tell you that something that made me stronger as a player is when I said that I'm just always going to play the move that I think is best. And if you think the trickiest move is best all the time, then I can tell you that you're probably not playing the trickiest move. You're probably not playing the trickiest move. What I mean by that generally is that the best move is the trickiest move. It is the move that is going to 100% give you some value no matter what. As to where a move that you play to intentionally try to trick your opponent, or it gives you bad shape or something like that, you are 100%, or you are, no, that's actually correct. It is 100% guaranteed that you are going to lose value with that move. Now, your opponent's next move is what tells you if your move failed to give you, like their move is what's going to give you the value or no value. But if you just play the move that you think is best, you are bound to gain. And I understand that's a little bit more difficult when it's like, oh, but I don't know what move is best all the time. Well, neither do I. I also don't know what the best move is all the time. But I do have a lot of confidence that I am doing my best to pick the best move that I can. And often I get the best move about 65% of the time. That is about what my AI accuracy is when I play my in-person game. Sometimes I get around 70, and if I'm really on the ball, sometimes I can get really lucky and hit about 75 or 80. But the idea is that you slowly bring yourself closer to that more perfect game of, I played really well, not because my opponent made really bad mistake, and I made a really bad mistake to trick them into falling apart. I just played really good Go, and I won that game. And yeah, we'll go ahead and end the video here. But if you really like that video, please like the video, subscribe, and if you are interested in lessons from me or just want to support my videos, please check out my Patreon, and the link is in the description. And I will see you all in the next video, because we are reviewing all 7 rounds of the Chicago tournament for my games. And that will also probably be the next video as well. So I will see you all in the next one.